Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me? What's going on, everybody? Back with another watch list. Last trading day of May, tomorrow, landing on a Friday. So we'll be wrapping up the month this week. Not the best month on my end, P&L wise. A bit choppy, to be honest. Not super consistent this month. So sometimes getting that new start of the month is a nice little mental reset. Each day doesn't really mean anything. You're just trading the opportunities in front of you, but having that little reset and a reason to look at it differently, sometimes kind of nice. Excuse me. Another one. Jeez. So yeah, I can go over a few names that I have on watch. And then Mr. What's going on? Just reading Nate's watch list here before I go through mine. Got a few ideas going into tomorrow. Okay. So, a big trade in Investors Underground today was on CoreWeave. Technical setup, you get this pullback and bouncing ball setup here into that 2 p.m. window is a really nice risk-reward opportunity. Catch about 10 to 15 buck fade, not having to risk too wide. So if you guys nail it, so congrats to them. I was obviously not on desk later in the day, but ended up panning out really well. Nate made some connections on it that I think are worth reviewing. He suggested they were worth reviewing, and basically was using like NVIDIA as a crutch for the market. So he was coming in sell bias with a bunch of these large cap names today. Whether you want to trade NVIDIA directly after they put out their earnings, but everything has been straight up. So he was kind of thinking with everything being straight up, maybe due for a sell day. And NVIDIA was the last kind of earnings, the last catalyst that had to come out for that to happen. So like peak demand going into today. And then he used that idea with CoreWeave that this daily was one of the strongest ones in recent weeks. So it was due for a pullback. And then obviously Novitas had the news with NVIDIA. I had bought it this morning and took it off through the low a day. Wasn't the best trade plan, but NVIDIA did have its week open and get bought up. So I was looking for dips versus view app. It was gapping up nicely on earnings and was gapping through this little flag. So I thought it could have a chance. I did not. I was not the one coming in with a sell bias today. But unfortunately, I pretty much did buy this into resistance. It pushed into 7, and I just bought the little high a day flag break. Was up briefly, but very short-lived. But different than what it had done over here when it broke through these 5s. You can see that yes, it did go straight up and top out, but it built and broke and firmed up over those levels. It wasn't a straight up spike that never saw higher once it tested it. So it was not the greatest trade idea, but in terms of the connection Nate made with all of the large caps and trickling down to small caps, I think was worth reviewing and a decent trade opportunity. If I had that short side in my head, I was just so focused on trying to nail the long that I was kind of tunnel vision into that one. Pony continues to sell off. Saida, unfortunately, again, same kind of theme where I'm already off desk by the time it starts to fail, but we got that pullback, never failed. Below that 410, 420 level, we get these couple dips that hold, and then once it starts to fail to follow through your late day, you get those pops that start to fail. Steady little grind lower before speeding up for that failed follow through idea from the watch list yesterday. Lottery still chopping around. Novitas we went over. BSGM pullback, same wicks. Fast, I think this one could be setting up for a breakout. We've got a bit of a longer term time frame here in those mid ones. Over here, it did look pretty good, where it starts to flag and set some higher lows. And this one just keeps grinding higher. Possible perpetual squeezer. Maybe through these 110s, get a shove up into 150s before it starts to pick its next direction, but is definitely holding up really well, better than I expected off of this gap day. LVWR took 2 losses on it before it actually worked. This one here was just a partial because it never proved a risk level to use. And then over here was a full-size loss because we got this pullback, hard crack, lower high, VWAP fail. This looks like failed follow-through setup to me. Gets stopped out right into the high a day that was the highs for the rest of the day before really falling apart. And again, 11 o'clock, I'm typically gone, and 280s was the goal for me. If you remember from the watch list yesterday, was looking for a sub 3 wash into those 280s, which is exactly what we got, but I was not around. Kind of botched that trade as well. Yesterday, I was going from trade to trade where I couldn't miss, and today I was going from trade to trade and just kept taking losses. Oh, man. One of those days. But it is what it is. S-Bet, someone had mentioned that on as a question yesterday in the chat for a T+1. I forget the name of the person who had mentioned it, but congrats if you took it. I didn't really understand the catalyst. It didn't have a whole bunch of range on day one, but if you took that little backside bounce for a reversal, you get a push off the open, pull back, opening range highs right there through the 31s. 31 risking 29, $2 a share. Depending how long you plan to hold that, it's crazy risk reward. Not one I traded, not one I planned to trade, but very, very, very crazy move. See, this is the same kind of thing where you get most of the range happening in pre-market. Sideways, volume is gone. Could be a T+1, but I don't understand the catalyst on these things. SGBX, same kind of thing. I don't know why they aren't having a ton of range on these day ones. The volume's disappearing. Could be T+1. ASBP, same thing. Could be T+1. Mostly sideways, squeezes out. So probably not as many shorts given how much it went in after hours. IMNN, this one looks like it's setting up pretty well. I like this one better just because it has more of a daily structure. Volume is still pulling back. You got that big volume day, tops out these 220s the last couple days. So if that starts to break and build 220 plus, could be a breakout worth watching. HBIO, big runner today. I remember this one being just a crazy diluter. You can see based on the chart, it's all the way at lows. I'd love this one to run. Still up 100% where it is right now. Buru after hours runner. 10 cents to 40 cents. Really nice move there. The daily looks fairly dilutive. Each time it tries to run, it gets retraced right back to lows. Let's see what the filings are looking like. Not much cash at all. Got warrants, convertibles, 43 cents. Got some warrants. 15 cents. Got some notes, convertibles, a buck. We've got some more notes. 15 cents, 30 cents, 25 cents. Anything from 15 cents to a buck. There's lots of millions of shares to be dumped there, so higher the better, higher the better, higher the better, higher the better. Quantums are all pulling back today. QBTS, QBT. They all got smoked. Looked really good this morning. And everything just got round tripped. Nate was spot on with his bias, being like euphoria in the overall markets and a bunch of these large cap kind of sector moves. I think he had a pretty good day today. This morning, really. He had to get off desk pretty early, but... NVTS, backside bounce, thoughts? I don't know. I think it's one of those ones that could work, but I think like we're coming back, into prior resistance that became support, could become support again. You've got this shelf here up in like the 610, 620s. So you'd be playing like within this range, in my opinion. And it didn't really run. It gapped. So for me, I'm not super interested. It just doesn't really fit the criteria in terms of bounce range. There's not a ton of room for error, only with it having room to bounce like a buck. In terms of like that bang bang backside bounce play, and most of the front side move was just on gaps. So although it did run from 2, the gap was like 4. So it's not really up a ton for me. Yeah, SGBX could be a liquidity trap. IMNN could be liquidity trap. LVWR, I'd like this one to fade another day. Although, like, I think fade potential was into that 280s. I don't think that there is a ton of meat lower. But if this were to put in another red day into, like, the low 2s, I would like this one for a backside bounce. So, ideally, fades lower again tomorrow, but we'll see. Grinder. I really like this daily, how it's shaping up. Got saved. Was that on earnings, I think? Let me look. Yeah, it was earnings. I thought so. Big gap down and save on earnings, and then it starts to flag and start to break out here. So as long as this doesn't gap up too much, I like a long here. I think you can get fairly tight risk reward, and when this one gets going, you can see when it gets aroused, it likes to trend. I made a little joke on Twitter before I hopped on here. It's like a boner candle straight to 69. I don't make the rules, just the messenger. Yeah, fast. That could be a liquidity trap. This pony, these higher lows, I took off that swing today. It just wasn't working. Minimal loss, but this little higher low could be like a failed follow through spot. It's just every time it tries to break out, it keeps getting stuffed, so it seems like longs are trapped. What else? What else am I watching? What's DJT been doing? Still getting smoked. GME. Couple day pullback. That could bounce off of 29. Been straight down for 2 days. Yeah, in terms of watches tomorrow, grind, I definitely like this one for a big picture swing. So I will keep this one on watch for a long, try to keep as wide of risk as possible. Maybe my other chart here has the 10 and 20 moving average, but maybe risk towards like the 20, which is sitting in like the 23.30-ish, which lines up with like the last dip that held. So maybe try and surf the 20 and catch like a multi-week move like that. Buru, higher the better. I imagine they try to dilute this thing with all of their warrants and convertibles. They are definitely in need of cash. HBIO, I don't really have a playbook trade for this tomorrow. I need it higher, so ideally another day. And then can watch that one. IMNN, possible liquidity trap if 220 builds. ASBP, I think, has a lot more work to do to get back through those 770s, especially given the big after-hours squeeze, so I don't really have high hopes for that one. SGBX, I think, could also be a liquidity trap. Bit more resistance here overhead, so it'd be more of like a nail and bail type play, but it is definitely holding up. Any shorts who are involved in this day, most of the volume here is at 140. So if it breaks and builds through 140, could get going. SPRO, I don't really know what's going on here. Not a ton of range. I'll keep it on watch, but I don't love it. LVWR, ideally another day lower, and would love a backside bounce on this on Monday. FAST, possible liquidity trap through those 110s, 115-ish. Pony, still waiting for this to break this channel. 21s, 16s, see which way it wants to go. So main watches, probably Grind, Buru, and IMNN. Probably my main few there. Not my pattern. CTMX for a breakout. I traded that one fairly small today. Hardly even worth mentioning. Sold it for a scratch, like 4-cent loser. I saw like it's holding 230. Like I think this 235 would be risk if I was in there. I talked to Dom about it, and it's the same kind of thing where most of the move, where it went from 90 cents, it gapped to 190, so it gapped 100%, and then it only ran 190 to 250, which is barely anything, and then it chopped around sideways. Even when it tried to break out, no volume has come back in. It just doesn't seem like it has much attention. Not a ton of volatility each day. Even these days when it got the volume, the volatility was muted. Most of the range was in the gap. I figured it could be breakout candidate because of this weak close and then gap up. I thought maybe shorts were kind of in a bind there. So I gave it a small shot today just because it was off a weak open. Decent risk reward, can risk 10 cents, and if it gets 250s, even at the breakout level, it's a 1-to-1 trade. So I tried it just super small today, but once it just didn't get moving, I moved on. If this ran 250 to 3, I don't really care. Like, it's not a needle mover. It's just kind of like a busy trade. Like, if I got nothing else to do, then I'm just trading this. So I deleted off my watch list today. It's like, what's the point in even trading this thing? It's not gonna move the account. Where something like grind, if I can risk $1 and make $5, there's a 5-to-1 trade I think is a needle mover. So I will keep that one on watch. But yeah, grind, Buru, IMNN, probably my top few. Then the other one, just back burner ideas, is probably what I got on watch for tomorrow. My DAS is going to shut down here in about 4 minutes, so ideally we can wrap it up by then. If there's any other questions that are eating you up, feel free to throw them out quick. But otherwise, I will hop out here. Usually starts to like update for the next day. It removes the arrows and changes P&L and stuff going into midnight on East Coast, which is coming up here in a few minutes. So if that's all we got, I can wrap it up there. I will give it a couple more seconds, and then we can go on and skedaddle. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate the questions. Always appreciate the engagement. Again, I'm kind of looking forward to May to end. I didn't wasn't such a great month for me, but yeah, getting that fresh start is kind of good for the mental going into June. So I hope you guys are doing well, doing better than me out there the last week or so. And yeah, I will see some of you in the room in Investors Underground. The rest of you, I will see you next week. Take it easy, guys. Peace.